What? Who has an art block? No, he doesn't. Do you want to know what an art block is and what it's not? I'll tell you. I want to tell you my story with this so-called art block and how I deal with it and what and who actually helped me to get over it. And in my story, there are two main characters beside myself. It's character number one is this painting that sits on my easel for, I don't know, 2 months already. And I started it to illustrate the first stage of an oil painting, to make a beautiful video. And, I just cannot push myself to, to continue working on it because I want it to be perfect. The perfect illustration of how I approach oil painting. I cannot continue working on this because I want to include all the right stuff in this painting, And you know this feeling when you start with a new project, with an oil painting or with a drawing, and you want it to be just, the composition needs to be just right, and the color choices, and the symbols, they're very important to a painter like myself. If you include a wrong symbol, then the whole painting will tell a wrong story. So I was kind of thinking about this when I was putting this painting on the easel this morning, and then I went to my garden, and my neighbor, Wout, he's 75, real Dutch boomer generation. He's not an artist, but his wife paints, so he's not foreign to this idea of painting, and he knows that I'm an artist. We chat a lot, and the Dutch culture is kind of strange because people who know you, they will pass by you and without even saying hello, but your neighbors, they are your best friends. And my best friend Wout, my neighbor, this morning he gave me 2 zucchinis. Yay! Sometimes he gives me a bottle of milk or half a watermelon, something he cannot finish before he leaves on vacation. So we started talking. He noticed my blue stage, my, I don't know, confused face or something, and he asked, what's wrong? Which is also not typical for a Dutch to ask, they don't really care how you feel. So he asked, I answered. I told him everything about this painting and that I might have an art block because I cannot make myself work. And then I shared with him something about this art block thing, that if you look around, if you go online, then it seems like everyone is constantly blocked. So he looks at me and he goes, Dimitri, this sounds a little bit BS. You do not have an art block. You are just a perfect example of someone with a Netflix syndrome. And the conversation was suddenly over because my dogs came and they started barking at his dog. So I took these 2 zucchinis, I went home, and now I was staring at the zucchinis, and I'm kind of like, yeah, you know what? He's right. I am a perfectionist. And I do have too many choices, and I cannot pick one, but it does not have anything to do with an art block. And if you cannot decide on something, it just means you have, your decision process is poor. It's not about art. And then I kind of went deeper with my mental research, and I kind of asked myself, why did I actually think that I'm having an art block? And I think I know why. I think it's because of the internet, because of the algorithm we have to feed daily. You have to make, post every single day. And this algorithm is always hungry. And one day you stop because, I don't know, any reason. And it feels like a glitch in the system to you. The algorithm kind of punishes you. It kind of removes you from the general public and nobody sees you. So you have to, create that visibility for yourself. This is a lot of pressure. And suddenly you are thinking about that art block, because everyone is having an art block. And you know what? This massive, dramatic term, I don't know who came up with this idea, but it's actually genius. Bravo. This art block term is used as this huge umbrella term for any unpleasant feeling you as an artist might have in your studio. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard a traditional artist, I don't like this term traditional artist, but that's what they call us, artists who hold the brush and do something physical. Have you ever heard a traditional artist, a classical oil painter, say that they have an art block? I tell you why you barely hear this. Because traditional artists, we actually do some physical frictions. If you look at those artists who are complaining about the art block, these artists are most of the time teenagers who create digital art with those iPads, and their problem is, I'm not a doctor, but here's the diagnosis. Their problem is that they turn on that machine, and they assume that art will flow constantly and instantly and nonstop. The art process is a flow. And then if something happens to the machine or to them, they get tired, and they will get tired because they're human beings. They feel like, yeah, Something's broken. I'm broken. I have this medical condition. I have an art block. Total panic. I'm not saying what's good, what's bad here. It's just the way it is. The traditional artists, we always have that physical friction. We hold the brush, we move, we do something, we deal with this chemical stuff, very toxic paint, and if you're working on a big canvas, you move back and forth constantly. And if we have a slow day on canvas, we do not call it an art block. We say we need to wait till this paint layer is dry and then we will continue. And while we're waiting, we're doing something. Basically, what I'm saying is this whole art block is actually just lame excuse to be cozy, lazy, and do nothing. Am I supposed to be sorry for saying this? And I think what's interesting is that we have internet since when? Since, let's say, 1990s, right? Before that, artists didn't have it, and they didn't have to push themselves online. They didn't have to post daily. They would just paint and draw and, do their little stuff and little big stuff. They didn't have that pressure. But we do. And I went further with my research. I made a list of symptoms that artists name when they say they have an art block. Listen to this. And this is kind of beautiful. First, they say, I do not have my art style because I am blocked. First of all, everyone has an art style. Sometimes we just don't notice it. And how to notice your style and how to get to your style. I actually have 2 videos, this video and this video with exercises. And to start noticing your art style, you just have to make something. You have to make those 1,000 drawings, and drawing number 1001, there you will see that there's something unique about this drawing, and this is the art style that they're searching for. But you know what? They're kind of lazy to make all those 1,000 drawings before they get to that 1001. This is not an art block. This is just, laziness. The other thing I like very much, artists, especially young artists, compare themselves to other artists. They're so good and I'm not so good, and I'm blocked because they can do it and I cannot do it. You're not blocked. You're just comparing yourself. And there are, 1,000 videos on YouTube about how unique we all are. And as artists, we shouldn't compare ourselves to other artists. So no, this is not an art block. This is just comparison. You just have to keep working and making something. And if you don't want to work, then, and they say, no, I do want to work, but everything I make looks terrible. Well, congratulations. You're learning, because everything we do is a learning process. And even for those of us who, have spent 40 years of painting and drawing, we're still learning. And we're not happy with everything we're making. No, there are some ugly paintings and drawings. We just don't show them. We just prefer, to hide them. And actually, I will show you something. My art block. I have this canvas. Sits there for, for 2 years now. And this canvas sits there for 2 months now. And I do not show you these canvases because why? But I will show you my beautiful drawing. And you know what? If they say they have an art block, it's actually, it's very interesting because they do not keep the statement to themselves. They want everybody to know that they have an art block. But why do they want us to know that they have an art block? Yeah, I need better supplies or better paintbrush. Look at my paintbrush here. It's like the cheapest paintbrush you can ever find in a art supply store. Really, it's very cheap. It's, €1, less than €1. You can make a masterpiece just with this brush. You don't need new stuff. You can start working with what you have. And by saying that you need new stuff, you're, you just don't want to work. But no, I want to work, but I need motivation and inspiration and confidence. All those things, they're so overrated, really. And if you talk to artists who work a bit longer, you will know that how do they find inspiration or motivation? They just start working. Well, I'll give you an example. Well, not an example. I'll give you a tip from my experience, how, I got inspired or motivated. People here, they throw away beautiful things sometimes. Well, yesterday, I found these 2 frames. With this two beautiful drawings, and I'm not sure I like the drawings. This is my inspiration process. I've seen these beautiful frames. I thought, okay, I'll throw away those drawings because I don't like them, and I will make drawings to fit in these frames. And now I can start working on those drawings. No art block. You just open your eyes and you see possibilities. I would watch those YouTube videos, not tutorials, not speed paint or speed draw videos, just videos where people paint or draw in real time, slow. I would watch them, and then somewhere in the middle I would turn them off because, okay, that's enough. I've seen everything. If they can do it, I can do it too. This is how I got inspired, by watching other people, but not comparing myself to them. It made me, I don't know, it made me jealous that they create, and I'm just sitting there. So I would go to my canvas or to my sketchbook, and yeah. About the sketchbook, I just love this one. They say, I just bought this beautiful sketchbook. When I open it, I just freeze. I cannot do anything. Well, I'll show you what you can do to start drawing something in your sketchbook. You get your sketchbook, new and beautiful. You open it on the first page, and you do this. Dimitri, what are you doing? I am destroying this beauty, because this beauty keeps you from drawing on it, because you're a perfectionist and you expect every single line to be perfect. So now this page is not perfect and the lines can be not perfect. Now you can draw and you're healed. Yeah, yes, but I have to finish that one drawing course, and then I have to finish watching that one more video. Of course they do. And me, before I go to a gym, I have to wait till I get muscles like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It will never happen. So, and the other type of artists that I came across are those beautiful creators who have their perfect studio. It's everything, you know, all beautifully laid out and set up, and they're wearing those beautiful white dresses and they're floating in their studios. And they say, I want everything to be beautiful. I want everything to be, you know, perfect. I want everything to be in order. I want to organize everything. And 3 weeks later, they're still organizing. They're still not making anything. And you know what? About that beautiful image of the floating artist in a studio, if you show, well, we don't have a chance to do it, but if we would show those videos to the great masters, they would probably laugh at us. They would say we're crazy, because those floating artists wearing beautiful dresses, the great masters would say, these are not artists. These are fantasies. These are fairies. For great masters back then in the Baroque period, painting was a real work. A dirty work, like blue-collar, heavy lifting work. And actually, they did not have that art block thing, because they didn't have time to be blocked. Just imagine Caravaggio or Artemisia Gentileschi saying to their patron, forgive me, my lord, I cannot continue working on this altar piece painting because I do have an art block. That's not possible. Not at all. They would be, I don't know, thrown into debtor's prison, and they will be sued for contract breach, and their commission will go to their rivals. No art block for them. And actually, there is not a single record coming from that time that great masters were talking about art block. Exhaustion existed, but art block, and you know what? Art block, we believe that we got it from this term writer's block. Someone called Edmund Bergla, if I'm not mistaken, in 1947, this psychologist or psychiatrist came up with this term to describe this mental block, like the blockage in the pipe. And it was only about the writers. And then in 1990s, when we had the internet, artists just, hijacked that term and then replaced writers with artists. But actually, writer's block is not the same as artist's block. The writer's blockage has to do something with this mental state. It's a conceptual thing. But the artist's blockage is a physical thing. You cannot paint or draw. But to be fair, there is something. When you're in your studio and you have all those ideas and you know that you want to create and you have all the supplies and the studio is beautifully organized and the canvas is ready and you're standing there and you cannot make a single brush stroke, it is a physical thing. And every time it happens to me, I know that I was having a very intensive time of creating, of making something. And now I know that it's just my exhaustion. I am tired. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, and if you compare your creativity process with the beautiful fields of crops, then you cannot expect a field to produce crops nonstop every year, every season. It's this field needs a season of rest. The same with you. You need to rest, you need to recharge, you need to get more energy and just to, take it easy, because that quiet stage, a month, a 2, 3 months, I don't know how long it takes you to recharge. That quiet stage is never a punishment. It's your body and your mind resting. That's all. but it's not an art block. You're just resting. And you know what? Those periods of stillness, of this rest, they pass, they end. And you just don't sit there and, try to, finish them. No, they they end. Every time they end very sudden, and you don't even notice how how they end. You just get up one morning, or you just go into your studio and you start making things. You start gessoing canvases, or mixing colors and preparing something and making sketches. Yeah, just don't call it an art block, because the more you call it a block, the more you believe in it. It's, again, I always say it's all here, right? So do not call it a block. Just call it rest. And the secret to surviving those moments of, I'm not going to say an art block, the secret of surviving those moments of artistic rest is just to accept it and to allow yourself to rest and to say, okay, that's fine, that's totally normal, and I will rest today and I will start making something tomorrow or a day after or in 2 months, and no pressure. Just, I want to enjoy it. But let me know in a comment what you think about this whole art block thing and how you deal with this artistic stillness. How do you motivate yourself? How do you inspire yourself to keep going? And I want to know, because it's always better to have a conversation. So let me hear your voice. I want to know what you think. My name is Dimitri Ross. I'm a figurative artist in Amsterdam. And before eating the zucchinis, I will paint them still alive. I hope to see you in the next one, okay? Ciao, ciao. I do have this video. I'm falling from this little thing. How do I fix it? I actually do not believe there is such a thing as an art block. Art block, come on.